Have you ever walked into a room fully prepared to speak, only to have your mind go completely blank the moment you opened your mouth? Imagine the feeling of your heart racing in your chest, your palms getting sweaty, and the words you studied so hard to remember simply vanishing into thin air. It is a terrible feeling, isn't it? It makes you want to run away, hide, and never try again. But what if I told you that this specific moment of failure is actually the most important step toward your success? What if the difference between being fluent and giving up is just one small decision you make right after you fail? Hello everyone, and welcome back to English in Fluency. I am your host, Alex, and today we are going to go on a journey together. We are not just learning vocabulary today, but we are learning how to survive the difficult days. We are going to talk about consistency, motivation, and why your English will definitely grow if you just refuse to quit. To help us understand this, I want to tell you a story about a young man named Lucas. Lucas was a graphic designer living in a small, quiet town. He was very good at his job, but he had a big dream. Lucas wanted to work for a major international company in the capital city. He knew that to get this job, he needed to speak English fluently. He had studied English in school, but like many of us, he had forgotten most of it. So, one sunny Monday morning, Lucas made a promise to himself. He said that he would learn English in 6 months. He was full of energy and excitement. This is how we all feel at the beginning, right? We buy new notebooks, we download apps, and we feel like we can conquer the world. Lucas started waking up at 5 in the morning every single day to study grammar. He listened to podcasts on his way to work. He even put sticky notes on every object in his house. His mirror had a note that said, "Mirror," and his fridge had a note that said, "Refrigerator." For the first 2 weeks, Lucas felt amazing. He felt like he was learning 5 or 10 new words every day. He thought to himself that this was easy, and he would be fluent in no time. However, language learning is not a straight line. It is more like climbing a mountain where the path sometimes goes down before it goes up again. After about a month, the initial excitement began to fade. The word fade means to slowly disappear or become less bright. Lucas started to feel tired. The grammar rules became more complicated. He struggled with prepositions and phrasal verbs. He could not understand why we say, "get on the bus," but "get in the car." It made no sense to him, and it made him feel frustrated. Frustrated is a very common feeling for students. It describes the feeling of being annoyed or upset because you cannot achieve what you want to do. Lucas was frustrated because he was putting in a lot of effort, but he felt like his progress had stopped. This is what teachers call the plateau. A plateau is a flat area of high ground, but in learning, it means a period where you do not seem to make any progress, even though you are still studying. One rainy afternoon, Lucas had an opportunity to test his skills. His boss at the local design firm told him that a client from London was visiting the office. The boss knew Lucas was studying English, so he asked Lucas to greet the client and offer him some coffee. Lucas was nervous, but he was also ready. He rehearsed the lines in his head 100 times. He planned to say, "Good afternoon, sir. Would you like a cup of coffee while you wait?" It was a simple sentence. He practiced the pronunciation of would and coffee over and over again. When the client arrived, he was a tall man with a fast way of walking and looking at his watch. Lucas stepped forward, took a deep breath and opened his mouth. But instead of the perfect sentence he had practiced, he stuttered. He said, "Good. Good coffee. You want?" The client looked at him with a confused expression, frowned slightly, and simply said, "What?" in a sharp tone. Lucas froze. His face turned bright red. He felt heat rising up his neck. He mumbled an apology and ran to the office kitchen to hide. That evening, Lucas went home and threw his English books into the corner of his room. He felt deeply ashamed. He told himself that he was not smart enough. He told himself that he was too old to learn a new language. He convinced himself that he had no talent for languages. This is the danger zone. This is the moment where 90% of learners give up. They take one bad experience and they let it define their entire journey. Lucas stopped waking up early. He stopped listening to podcasts. He took the sticky notes off his fridge and threw them in the trash. For 2 whole weeks, he did not speak a single word of English. He went back to his comfortable life. But deep down, he felt a sense of regret. Regret is a sad feeling you get when you wish you had done something differently in the past. Lucas regretted giving up, but he was too afraid to try again because he did not want to feel that embarrassment again. One weekend, Lucas went to a local park to clear his head. He sat on a bench, watching people walk by. He saw an old man sitting on the grass, trying to fix a broken bicycle. The old man was struggling. The chain of the bike kept falling off. The old man would fix it, pedal a little bit, and the chain would fall off again. Lucas watched him for 20 minutes. The old man did not get angry. He did not throw the bike. He simply took a deep breath, wiped the grease from his hands, and tried again. Eventually, after many attempts, the chain stayed on. The old man smiled, got on the bike, and rode away happily. Lucas realized something profound in that moment. The old man succeeded not because he was a genius mechanic, but simply because he did not stop. He succeeded because he was consistent. Consistency means doing something again and again, regularly, over a long period of time. It is not about being perfect. It is about not stopping. Lucas went back home and picked up his English book from the corner of the room. He dusted it off. He realized that his mistake with the client from London was not a failure of his intelligence. It was just a lack of practice in a real situation. He decided to change his strategy. Instead of studying for 2 hours a day and burning out, he decided to study for just 20 minutes a day. But he would do it every single day, no matter what. He also decided that he needed to change his mindset. He stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to just be understood. This is a very important lesson for you listening right now. Do not aim for perfection. Perfection is the enemy of progress. If you wait until you speak perfectly, you will never speak. You must be willing to make mistakes. You must be willing to sound a little bit silly sometimes. That is how you learn. Lucas started a new routine. He found a language partner online named Elena. Elena was from Spain and was learning Lucas's native language. They agreed to speak for 30 minutes twice a week. The first time they spoke, Lucas was terrified. He was sweating again, but Elena was kind. When Lucas made a mistake, she did not frown or say, "What?" sharply. She smiled and waited. She helped him find the right word. This built his confidence. Confidence is the belief in your own ability to do things well. With every conversation, Lucas's confidence grew. He learned that it was okay to say, "I don't understand," or "Could you please repeat that?" He learned that communication is a two-way street. It is about connection, not about passing a test. Months passed. It was not easy. There were days when Lucas was tired from work and did not want to study. There were days when he felt like his brain was full of cotton and he could not remember simple words. But on those days, he remembered the old man with the bicycle. He told himself, just 20 minutes. Just do a little bit. He listened to one song in English. He wrote just 3 sentences in his journal. He kept the chain on the bike. He stayed consistent. Slowly, without him even realizing it, his English was growing. It is like a plant. You water a plant every day, but you do not see it grow instantly. You look at it on Monday, and it looks the same as it did on Sunday. But if you keep watering it, and you come back in 2 months, you see new leaves. You see that it has grown taller. This is exactly how language learning works. The growth happens in the quiet moments when you don't think anything is happening. 1 year later, Lucas applied for that dream job in the capital city. He passed the design test easily because he was a talented artist. Then came the final interview. It was in English. Lucas walked into the room. There were 3 interviewers sitting behind a large glass table. One of them was a native English speaker. Lucas felt that old familiar fear rising in his chest. His heart started to beat faster. But this time, he had a tool to fight the fear. He took a deep breath. He smiled. He remembered all the conversations he had with Elena. He remembered that these interviewers were just people. The native speaker asked him, "Tell us about a time you failed and how you handled it." Lucas smiled widely. He knew exactly what to say. He told them the story of the coffee and the client from London. He told them about the shame he felt. But then he told them about the old man and the bicycle, and how he learned that consistency is more important than talent. He spoke clearly. He made a few small grammar mistakes, but he did not stop. He corrected himself and kept going. The interviewers were impressed. They were not impressed because his English was perfect like a textbook. They were impressed by his resilience. Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. It is mental toughness. They hired him not just for his design skills, but for his attitude. So, what can we learn from Lucas's story? We learn that the journey to fluency is full of bumps in the road. You will have days where you feel like a champion, and you will have days where you feel like you know nothing. This is normal. Accept it. When you feel like giving up, remember that you are just on a plateau. You are just taking a rest before the next climb. The only way you can truly fail is if you stop completely. If you keep going, even if it is very slow, you will eventually reach your destination. Think about the tortoise and the hare. The fast rabbit ran quickly, but got distracted and stopped. The slow turtle just kept walking, one step at a time, and won the race. Be the turtle. Be patient with yourself. Now, I want to give you some practical advice on how to stay motivated when things get tough. First, you must have a clear why. Why are you learning English? Is it for a better job, like Lucas? Is it to travel? Is it to understand your favorite movies? If your reason is weak, your motivation will die when the work gets hard. If you are just learning because someone told you to, you will quit. But if you are learning because you want to change your life, you will find the energy to continue. Take a moment right now, while you are listening to me, and think about your why. Visualize it. See yourself succeeding. Imagine yourself speaking fluently in that meeting, or ordering food in that restaurant, or laughing at a joke in English without needing a translation. Hold that image in your mind. That image is your fuel. Second, you need to embrace the compound effect. The compound effect is the principle that huge rewards come from small, seemingly insignificant actions. If you learn just one new word a day, that is 365 words in a year. That does not sound like much, does it? But if you learn one word, and you also listen to English for 10 minutes, and you also speak to yourself for 5 minutes, these small things add up. After a year, the difference is massive. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. Do not try to study for 5 hours on Sunday and then do nothing for the rest of the week. It is better to study for 15 minutes every day. Your brain needs that daily exposure to get used to the sounds and structures of the new language. It is like exercise. You cannot get strong by going to the gym once a month for 10 hours. You get strong by going for 45 minutes 3 times a week. Another important technique is to immerse yourself in things you actually enjoy. Often, students give up because they are bored. They try to read difficult textbooks about economics or politics that they would not even read in their own language. If you like cooking, watch cooking videos in English. If you like football, listen to commentary in English. If you like romance novels, read simple love stories in English. When you enjoy the content, you forget that you are studying. Your brain relaxes. You absorb the language naturally. Lucas found success because he stopped torturing himself with boring grammar drills and started talking to a real person, Elena, about real life. They talked about their families, their hobbies, and their dreams. It was fun, so he wanted to do it. Make your English learning fun. If it is not fun, change your method. Let's talk about the fear of judgment. This is the biggest barrier for adult learners. Children learn languages quickly because they do not care if they sound silly. They make noises, they point, they invent words, and they laugh. Adults are afraid of looking stupid. We have egos. We want to be respected. But you must leave your ego at the door when you learn a language. You have to be willing to be a child again. When someone corrects you, say, "Thank you." Do not feel hurt. A correction is a gift. It is someone helping you to be better. If people laugh, let them laugh. Usually, people are not laughing at you. They are laughing with you, or they are just surprised. And if someone is genuinely rude, that is their problem, not yours. Do not let a rude person stop your growth. You are doing something brave. You are expanding your mind. They are just standing still. I also want to discuss the importance of tracking your progress. When you are in the middle of the journey, it is hard to see how far you have come. You forget what you didn't know 6 months ago. I suggest you record yourself speaking. Use your phone. Record yourself talking about your day for 1 minute. Then, save that recording. Do not listen to it immediately. Wait for 3 months. Then record yourself again and listen to the first one. You will be shocked. You will hear how much your pronunciation has improved. You will hear how much faster you are finding the words. This proof of progress is incredibly motivating. It shows you that your hard work is paying off. Lucas didn't have recordings, but he had his memory of the failed coffee meeting. When he had his successful interview, the contrast was clear. He knew he had grown. Let's go deeper into the concept of input and output. To grow your English, you need a balance. Input is what goes into your brain, reading and listening. Output is what comes out, speaking and writing. Many students focus only on input. They understand everything they hear, but they cannot speak. This is called passive fluency. You want active fluency. To bridge this gap, you must practice output, even if you are alone. Talk to yourself in the shower. Narrate your life. Say, "Now I am making coffee. I am pouring the hot water. The cup is blue." It sounds crazy, but it works. It connects your thoughts directly to English words without translating in your head first. Translation is slow. You want to think in English. By describing your simple daily actions, you train your brain to label the world in English. There is also a technique called shadowing that is very effective for listening and pronunciation. Shadowing means you listen to a native speaker, like me, right now, and you repeat what I say immediately after I say it. You try to copy my speed, my intonation, and my emotion. Do not wait for the sentence to end. Speak almost at the same time as me. This trains your mouth muscles. English requires different muscle movements than your native language. You need to train your tongue and lips to move in these new ways. It is physical training. If you shadow this video for just 5 minutes, you will feel your mouth get tired. That is a good sign. It means you are working out your English muscles. Now, I want to address a common question. How long does it take? This is the wrong question. It takes as long as it takes. Everyone is different. Some people have more free time. Some people have a natural ear for music and sounds, and some people are more outgoing. Comparing yourself to others is the fastest way to lose motivation. Do not look at someone on Instagram who claims they learned English in 3 months. Usually, they are not telling the whole truth, or they are just memorizing phrases without understanding the grammar. Your journey is unique. Respect your own pace. If it takes you 2 years to reach B1, that is a great achievement. If it takes 5 years, that is also a great achievement. The time will pass anyway. You might as well spend it learning. Let's think about the future version of you. Imagine it is 5 years from now. If you quit today, where will you be? You will be in the exact same place, having the same struggles, feeling the same regret. But if you keep going, even slowly, where will you be in 5 years? You could be living in a different country. You could have a higher salary. You could be married to someone who doesn't speak your native language. You could be reading books that open your mind to new ideas. The possibilities are endless. The cost of giving up is much higher than the cost of studying. The cost of studying is just a little bit of time and effort each day. The cost of giving up is your dreams. Speaking is only one side of the coin. The other side, and often the scarier side for many students, is listening. Speaking is something you can control. You choose the words, you choose the speed. But listening? Listening requires you to give up control. You have to follow someone else's speed, their accent, and their choice of words. It can feel like trying to catch a high-speed train that is zooming past the station. To explore this, I want to introduce you to another character, a university student named Sophia. Her story might feel very familiar to you if you have ever watched a movie in English and felt completely lost. Sophia was a brilliant student. She loved reading English novels. If you gave her a piece of paper with English text, she could understand almost everything. She knew her grammar rules perfectly. She could explain the difference between the past simple and the present perfect tense better than some teachers. However, Sophia had a secret fear. She was terrified of listening to real English conversations. In the classroom, when the teacher played the audio from the textbook, Sophia was fine because the actors on the tape spoke slowly and clearly. They enunciated every syllable. But the real world is not a textbook. Real people mumble. Real people use slang. Real people interrupt each other and laugh while they are talking. This real English sounded like just a wall of noise to Sophia. One evening, Sophia was invited to a dinner party with some international exchange students. She was excited to make new friends. She arrived at the apartment, and the room was full of energy. There was music playing in the background, and people were standing in groups, holding drinks and chatting. Sophia joined a small group of 3 students who were speaking English. They were telling jokes and laughing loudly. Sophia smiled and nodded, pretending to understand. This is a classic survival strategy, isn't it? We call it the smile and nod. You smile, you nod your head, and you pray that no one asks you a specific question. But inside, Sophia was panicking. She could catch one word here, one word there, but she could not connect them to form a meaningful idea. It felt like she was underwater, hearing sounds that were muffled and distant. Suddenly, one of the students turned to Sophia and asked her a question. He asked it quickly, blending the words together. He said, "So, what are you planning on doing after graduation?" To Sophia's ears, it didn't sound like separate words. It sounded like one long, strange sound. "What you planning doing?" She stared at him blankly. Her brain froze. The room felt suddenly quiet. The friendly smile on the student's face turned into a look of confusion. Sophia felt that terrible heat of embarrassment again. She stammered, I am sorry. I don't know." She excused herself and went to the bathroom. She looked at herself in the mirror and tears filled her eyes. She felt like a fraud. A fraud is someone who tricks people into thinking they are something they are not. She felt like her good grades were a lie because she couldn't handle a simple conversation at a party. This moment highlights a major misconception about language learning. Many people think that if you know the words, you will hear the words, but that is not true. Reading and listening are 2 completely different brain processes. When you read, you have time. You can go back. You can look at the shape of the word. When you listen, the word exists for a split second, and then it is gone forever. If your brain tries to translate that word into your native language, you miss the next 5 words. This is what was happening to Sophia. She was trying to translate every single word she heard. She was acting like a computer, not a human. By the time she translated the first part of the sentence, the speaker had already finished the story. She was always 3 seconds behind, and that gap caused her anxiety. Sophia decided she needed to fix this. She realized that her method of studying, reading books and doing grammar exercises, was not helping her ears. She needed to train her ears to hear the rhythm of English. She started a new experiment. Instead of watching educational videos for learners, she started watching cartoons made for children. This might sound silly for a university student, but it was a genius move. Cartoons are visual. If the character is angry, you see a red face. If they are running, you see them run. The context is extremely clear. The language is simple, but it is spoken at a natural speed. For the first week, Sophia watched one episode of a cartoon every morning while eating breakfast. She did not use subtitles. She forced her brain to rely only on her ears and her eyes. At first, it was frustrating. She missed a lot of details. But she stopped trying to translate. She started listening for the gist. The gist means the general idea or the main point of a situation, without knowing every specific detail. For example, if two characters are arguing over a pizza, you don't need to understand the word pepperoni or slice to understand that they are hungry and angry. You get the gist. This is how babies learn. Babies do not have dictionaries. They listen to the tone of voice. They watch the facial expressions. They absorb the situation first, and the words come later. Sophia started to relax. She realized she didn't need to catch 100% of the words to enjoy the story. If she understood 60%, that was enough. This took the pressure off. As the weeks went by, Sophia noticed something magical happening. The wall of noise started to break apart into separate bricks. She began to hear where one word ended and the next one began. She started to notice patterns. She realized that English speakers stress certain words, usually the nouns and verbs, and they swallow the small words like to, of, and a. This is why cup of tea sounds like cup of tea. Understanding this rhythm is the key to B1 and B2 listening. English is a stress-timed language. The rhythm comes from the stressed syllables, not from the number of syllables. Once Sophia stopped looking for every single clear word and started riding the waves of the rhythm, understanding became much easier. Let's pause Sophia's story for a moment and talk about you, the listener. How do you practice listening? Do you listen to things that are too difficult for you? If you are at a B1 level and you try to listen to a fast-paced political debate on CNN or BBC, you will feel discouraged. It is like trying to lift a 100-kilogram weight on your first day at the gym. You will hurt yourself, and you will want to quit. You need to find what linguists call comprehensible input. This means content that is just a little bit above your current level. You should understand about 70% to 80% of it. If you understand everything, you are not learning. If you understand nothing, you are not learning. You need to be in that Goldilocks zone. Not too hard, not too easy, but just right. Another technique Sophia used, which I highly recommend to you, is passive listening. We talked about active focus earlier, but passive listening has a place too. Sophia started keeping English radio playing in the background while she cooked, cleaned her room, or walked to the bus stop. She wasn't trying to understand every word. She was just letting her brain get used to the sound frequency of English. It is like background music. Over time, your subconscious mind starts to categorize the sounds. You start to feel familiar with the language. It stops sounding foreign and starts sounding like home. Think of it like moving to a new city. At first, every street looks strange and confusing. But after walking around for a month, you don't even look at the map anymore. You just know where you are. Passive listening builds that familiarity map in your brain. Now, let's return to the psychological aspect. Why do we give up on listening? Usually, it is because we are perfectionists. We feel that missing a word is a failure. But even native speakers miss words. Have you ever spoken to a friend in your own language, in a noisy bar, or on a bad phone connection? You probably miss 20% of what they say. Do you panic? No. You use context to fill in the blanks. You guess. Language learning is 50% knowledge and 50% guessing. You have to become a good guesser. You have to be a detective. If you hear the words flight, delayed, and airport, but you miss the other 10 words in the sentence, you can guess that the person is having a bad travel experience. Trust your intuition. Don't let the unknown words paralyze you. Sophia also learned to deal with the speed issue. She realized that speed is often an illusion. When we know a language well, it doesn't sound fast. It sounds normal. When we don't know it, it sounds fast. The speed hasn't changed. Our processing power has changed. To help with this, Sophia used the settings on YouTube and her podcast apps. She slowed the audio down to 0.75x speed. This is a wonderful tool. It stretches the sounds just enough so you can hear the pronunciation clearly, but it doesn't distort the voice too much. She listened at 0.75 times for the first listen, and then, once she understood the meaning, she played it again at normal speed. This bridged the gap. It gave her brain a training wheel. Eventually, she didn't need to slow it down anymore. After about 6 months of this new routine, cartoons, passive listening, and slowing down audio, Sophia met the same group of exchange students again. They were having a picnic in the park. She approached them with a little bit of nervousness, but she told herself, "I will focus on the gist. I will not panic." She sat down. They were talking about travel disasters. The conversation was fast and chaotic. But this time, Sophia didn't try to translate. She watched their faces. She caught the keywords: luggage, lost, 3 days. She understood the story. Someone had lost their bag for 3 days. She laughed at the right moment. And then, without overthinking it, she added a simple sentence. "That happened to me once in Paris." The group looked at her, nodded, and the conversation continued smoothly. She was in. She wasn't perfectly fluent, but she was connected. And that connection gave her a rush of dopamine, the happiness chemical that motivated her to study even harder the next day. This brings us to a vital point about motivation. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Many people wait until they feel like studying. They wait for inspiration to strike like lightning. But inspiration is unreliable. Lucas and Sophia did not wait for inspiration. They took action even when they were scared or tired. And when they saw a small result, like Lucas fixing the bike or Sophia understanding the joke, that result gave them motivation. You have to push the car to get it moving. Once it is moving, it is easier to steer. Do not wait to feel motivated. Just press play on the audio. Just open the book. The feeling of satisfaction will come after you start, not before. Let's talk about the concept of the dip. In any long journey, there is a beginning, which is exciting. Then there is the middle, which is long, hard, and boring. This is the dip. This is where you put in effort, but don't see results. This is where you feel like you are walking through mud. Most people quit in the dip. They think, "This isn't working. I'm wasting my time." But the dip is actually a filter. It filters out the people who don't really want it. The successful people are simply the ones who survived the dip. They kept walking through the mud until they found solid ground again. When you feel like you are not improving, I want you to say to yourself, "I am in the dip. This is normal. If I keep walking, I will get out." Another enemy of motivation is isolation. Learning a language alone in your room can feel very lonely. You are fighting a battle that no one else sees. This is why community is so important. Even if you don't have a real-life group, you can join online communities. Read the comments on this video. Look at how many other people are struggling with the same things as you. You are not alone. There are millions of people right now, all over the world, trying to understand English just like you. Some are in Brazil, some in Japan, some in Italy, some in Vietnam. We are all in this massive global classroom together. When you feel lonely, remember you are part of a huge team. Connect with others. Leave a comment below saying, "I am still here," or "I am in the dip, but I am keeping going." Seeing others persist helps you persist. I also want to give you a practical tip for vocabulary, which supports your listening. Do not learn words in isolation lists. Do not memorize dog equals perro, cat equals gato. This is bad for your brain because it has no context. When you hear the word in a real sentence, your brain has to search through a long list to find the meaning. Instead, learn phrases or chunks. Do not just learn decision. Learn make a decision. Do not just learn interested. Learn interested in. When you learn the chunk, your brain stores it as one unit. When you hear, "I am interested in," your brain recognizes it instantly. This speeds up your listening comprehension significantly. It is like saving a computer file in the right folder so you can find it quickly, rather than throwing it on a messy desktop. Let's try a little exercise right now. I am going to say a sentence at a natural speed. I want you to listen. Do not try to write it down. Just listen and try to catch the main image. Ready? Here is the sentence. Even though it was raining heavily, they decided to go for a walk along the beach because they needed some fresh air. Did you catch it? Maybe you missed the word heavily. Maybe you missed along. That doesn't matter. Did you get the image? Rain, beach, walk, fresh air. If you got those 4 concepts, you understood the message. You succeeded. This is how you must practice. Celebrate the words you catch. Do not mourn the words you miss. If you focus on what you missed, you feel negative. If you focus on what you caught, you feel positive. A positive brain learns faster than a negative brain. Stress releases cortisol, a chemical that actually blocks your memory. Being relaxed and happy helps you remember. So, be kind to yourself. We often talk about talent in language learning. People look at me or other polyglots and say, "Oh, you have a gift." I want to be honest with you. The gift is usually just obsession and time. I am not smarter than you. I just spent more hours listening to things I didn't understand until I understood them. Talent is just a fancy word for unseen hard work. Sophia didn't have a talent for listening. She built the skill, brick by brick, cartoon by cartoon. You can build it too. It is a mechanical process. If you do the inputs, you will get the output. It is a universal law. So, what is the plan for this week? I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to find a piece of audio. It could be this video, a podcast, or a short story. I want you to listen to it 3 times. The first time, just relax and get the main idea. The second time, listen with the text, the transcript or subtitles, if you have them, and notice the words you missed. See how they are spelled. See how the sounds blend together. The third time, put the text away and listen again. You will be amazed at how much clearer it sounds the third time. This repetition is powerful. It teaches your brain, that noise means this word. You are programming your own software. Also, Remember to rest. Your brain needs sleep to consolidate memory. When you sleep, your brain takes all the new English information you learned during the day and organizes it into long-term memory. If you don't sleep well, you lose a lot of that effort. Study hard, but sleep well. It is part of the work. Your English is growing, even when you can't see it. Now, I want to take you into a world that many teachers do not talk about enough. It is the world of fun. Yes, fun. Many people believe that learning must be painful. They think that if you are not suffering, you are not learning. They imagine that a good student sits at a desk with a headache, memorizing lists of irregular verbs until their eyes hurt. But I am here to tell you that this is a lie. In fact, the most effective learning happens when you are not even thinking about learning. It happens when you are having fun. To explain this, I want to introduce you to a young man named Daniel. Daniel was what his teachers called a bad student. In his high school English classes, he sat at the back of the room. He never raised his hand. When the teacher asked him to read a paragraph from the textbook, he read it slowly and without emotion. He found the textbook boring. It was full of stories about imaginary people going to the post office or buying train tickets. Daniel did not care about post offices. He did not care about train tickets. He thought English was a dry, dusty subject that had nothing to do with his real life. He got low grades, and his parents were worried. They thought Daniel was just lazy. But Daniel was not lazy. In fact, Daniel was incredibly hardworking, but only for one specific thing: video games. Daniel loved a specific type of video game called role-playing games, or RPGs. These are games where you explore a massive fantasy world, fight monsters, and talk to other characters to solve a mystery. One day, a new game was released that Daniel had been waiting for years. There was only one problem. It was not translated into his native language yet. It was only available in English. Daniel was desperate. He wanted to play this game so badly that he decided to buy the English version. He told himself, "I will just guess the buttons." He put the game in his console, the music started, and his journey began. At first, it was very difficult. The game gave him instructions like, "Equip your sword," or "Go to the northern village to find the healer." Daniel did not know the word equip or healer. He died in the game many times because he didn't understand the warnings. But Daniel did not quit. Why? Because he wasn't trying to learn English. He was trying to save the princess. He had a mission. The emotional drive to win the game was stronger than the pain of not understanding. So, he started keeping a dictionary next to his controller. When a word appeared on the screen, he paused the game, looked it up, and whispered, "Ah, shield means protection." Then he unpaused and continued. This is a perfect example of need-based learning. In school, Daniel was learning words he didn't need right now. In the game, he learned the word potion because his character was dying and he needed to drink it immediately. The brain remembers information much better when it is necessary for survival, even if it is just survival in a game. Daniel played this game for 3 months. He played for hours every evening. He was reading complex dialogues about magic, history, and war. He was listening to the characters speak with different accents. Some sounded like old wizards, some like angry soldiers. He was immersed. Immersion means being completely surrounded by something, like being underwater. One day, About 4 months later, Daniel was back in his English class. The teacher wrote a sentence on the board. The ancient ruins are located near the river. The other students were confused. They didn't know the word ancient or ruins. But Daniel's hand shot up in the air instantly. He knew these words perfectly because he had explored ancient ruins in his game 100 times. The teacher was shocked. She asked him, "Daniel, how do you know that?" Daniel smiled and said, "I learned it from a game." That year, Daniel's grades went from the bottom of the class to the top. He didn't study harder, he just played harder. He found a way to make English a tool for his happiness, not a chore for his schoolwork. Now, maybe you are not a gamer like Daniel. That is okay. Let's look at another example. Let's talk about Isabella. Isabella was a woman in her 30s who loved baking. She made the most delicious cakes and cookies. She wanted to learn how to make authentic British scones and American cheesecakes. She tried to read translated recipes, but they were often wrong. The measurements were confusing, and the instructions were not clear. So, Isabella decided to watch baking shows on YouTube that were hosted by native English speakers. She was nervous because cooking vocabulary can be very specific. She started watching a famous British baker. The baker spoke fast and used words like whisk, knead, dough, sift, and batter. Isabella watched the baker's hands. When the baker said, "Whisk the eggs," Isabella saw him moving the tool quickly in the bowl. She instantly connected the sound whisk with the action of mixing. She didn't need a dictionary. She had visual context. She decided to bake along with the video. She put her tablet on the kitchen counter. She listened to the instructions. Preheat the oven to 180 degrees. She did it. Fold the flour gently. She didn't know what fold meant in cooking, but she watched the baker move the spoon in a gentle circular motion. And she copied him. This is called multisensory learning. Isabella was using her ears to listen, her eyes to watch, her hands to touch the flour, and her nose to smell the cake baking. When you involve more senses, the memory becomes stronger. If you just read the word cinnamon in a book, you might forget it tomorrow. But if you smell the cinnamon while hearing the word cinnamon, you will remember it forever. Isabella baked every weekend. Her English improved rapidly. She started leaving comments on the videos asking questions like, "Can I use less sugar?" or "How long should I cool it?" She joined a community of bakers. She wasn't just a student. She was a baker who happened to speak English. What do Daniel and Isabella have in common? They both entered a state called flow. Flow is a psychological concept. It is that mental state where you are so focused on an activity that you forget about time. You forget to check your phone. You forget that you are hungry. You are completely in the moment. When you are in a flow state, your brain is extremely open to learning. The anxiety filter turns off. You are not worried about grammar mistakes because you are too busy killing the dragon or baking the cake. This is where the magic happens. So, how can you apply this to your life? I want you to think about your hobbies. What do you love to do? Do you love football? Do you love makeup and fashion? Do you love gardening? Do you love fixing cars? Whatever it is, there is a massive world of English content waiting for you on that topic. If you love football, stop listening to English lessons about at the airport. Start listening to match commentaries. Start reading interviews with your favorite players. Yes, the vocabulary will be difficult at first. You will hear words like offside, penalty, and header. But because you love football, you will want to know these words. Your curiosity will pull you through the difficulty. Many students feel guilty when they do this. They think, if I am watching a makeup tutorial, I am wasting time. I should be studying grammar. You must stop thinking this way. If you are listening to English, you are studying. Period. It does not matter if the topic is serious or silly. In fact, if the topic is silly but you enjoy it, it is better than a serious topic that bores you. Your brain rejects boring information. It fights against it. But it welcomes interesting information with open arms. Let me tell you about the frequency illusion. This is a funny thing that happens when you start learning through hobbies. Let's say you are like Isabella, and you learn the word dough, the mixture of flour and water. Suddenly, you will start seeing the word dough everywhere. You will see it in a news article about money, because dough is slang for money. You will hear it in a song. You will see it on a pizza box. The word was always there, but your brain was ignoring it. Now that you have a personal connection to the word, your brain highlights it for you. This makes you feel like you are improving very fast, which boosts your motivation even more. Let's go back to the idea of input. We talked about comprehensible input. When you use hobbies, the input becomes comprehensible because of your background knowledge. If you know a lot about cars, and you watch a video about fixing an engine in English, you already know how an engine works. This knowledge acts like a bridge. You can guess the English words because you know the mechanical concept. You are using your existing intelligence to unlock the new language. Do not underestimate what you already know. You are an expert in your own life. Use that expertise. Now, I want to address a specific challenge: the intermediate plateau. We mentioned this briefly with Lucas, but now let's dig deeper. When you reach a B1 level, like many of you listening right now, you often feel stuck. You can order food, you can have a basic conversation, but you cannot express your deep feelings. You feel like a child. You have complex thoughts in your head, but simple words in your mouth. This is frustrating. The reason this happens is that the jump from B1, intermediate, to B2, upper intermediate, is the biggest jump in language learning. To go from A1 to A2 is like climbing a hill. To go from B1 to B2 is like climbing a mountain. To cross this plateau, you need volume. You need to consume a massive amount of English. You cannot cross this plateau just by studying textbooks. Textbooks are too short. You need to read whole books. You need to listen to hours of podcasts. This is why the hobby method is the only way. You cannot force yourself to read a boring textbook for 100 hours. But you can easily play a video game for 100 hours. You can easily watch 50 episodes of a TV show you love. The hobby provides the fuel to get you across the long desert of the intermediate plateau. Let's try a visualization exercise. I want you to close your eyes for a second, unless you are driving. Imagine your brain is a library. Right now, you have a section called English. In that section, you have some dusty books called grammar and vocabulary lists. Now, imagine you start bringing in your hobbies. You bring in a colorful magazine about fashion. You bring in a loud, exciting video game. You bring in a delicious recipe book. You place these items on the shelves next to the dusty grammar books. Suddenly, the library looks different. It looks like a place you want to hang out. It looks like your room, not a classroom. This is what we are trying to do. We are trying to renovate your English library. We want to make it a comfortable place where you enjoy spending time. I have a challenge for you for the next week. I call it the One Switch Challenge. I want you to take one thing that you normally do in your native language for fun and switch it to English. Just one thing. If you usually read the news in your language, download a news app in English, like BBC Learning English or VOA Learning English. If you usually watch YouTube videos about technology in your language, find a tech reviewer who speaks English. If you play games on your phone, go into the settings and change the language to English. It will be weird for the first 2 days. You will feel a little bit of resistance, but push through that. By day 3, it will start to feel normal. By day 7, you will have learned 10 new words without even trying. Let's talk about passive vocabulary versus active vocabulary. Passive vocabulary contains the words you understand when you hear them, but you cannot use them when you speak. Active vocabulary contains the words you use effortlessly. Your passive vocabulary is always much bigger than your active vocabulary. This is normal. Don't beat yourself up about it. Through hobbies, you build a massive passive vocabulary. Daniel, the gamer, understood ancient, ruins, sword, and shield. Maybe he didn't use them in daily conversation often, but when he needed them, they were there. To turn passive words into active words, you need to use them. This is where self-talk comes in again. Remember I told you to talk to yourself in the shower? Now, combine it with your hobby. If you just watch the football match, talk to yourself about it. Act like you are the commentator. Say, "Oh, what a terrible pass. He should have kicked it to the left." If you just bake the cake, pretend you are on a cooking show. Now I am cutting the cake. It looks very moist. It smells like vanilla. When you speak these words out loud, you move them from the back of your brain, passive, to the front of your brain, active. You are physically practicing the sounds. I want to tell you one more short story about a student named Chen. Chen loved music. He loved American pop and hip-hop. He would listen to songs all day long. But for a long time, he didn't learn much English because he wasn't paying attention to the lyrics. He just liked the beat. Then he changed his strategy. He started printing out the lyrics of his favorite songs. He would listen to the song while reading the paper. He underlined the words he didn't know. Then he would sing along. Singing is incredible for pronunciation. When you sing, you mimic the rhythm and the linking of words perfectly. You don't say, "I am going to." You say, "Imagana." You learn the natural flow. Chen learned English through Eminem and Taylor Swift. When he spoke, he had a very natural rhythm. He didn't sound like a robot. He sounded like a person with soul. So, music is another powerful tool. But be careful. Songs often break grammar rules. "I can't get no satisfaction" is a double negative. It is technically incorrect grammar, but it is culturally correct. Knowing the difference between textbook correct and street correct is a sign of a truly advanced learner. Don't be afraid of slang. Slang is the spice of language. It gives it flavor. If you speak like a textbook from 1990, you will be understood, but you will sound formal and distant. If you use a little bit of current language, people will feel closer to you. You must stay focused on consistency. But I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, Alex, this sounds great, but I have a job. I have children. I have bills to pay. I simply do not have time to play video games or watch cartoons. I hear you. Life is busy. Life is demanding. Today, we are going to talk about how to build an English routine even when your life is chaotic. We are going to talk about stealing time. To illustrate this, I want to tell you the story of Marco. Marco was a taxi driver in a bustling city. His days were long and exhausting. He woke up at 6 in the morning to help his wife get the children ready for school. Then, he drove his taxi for 10 to 12 hours a day, dealing with traffic, angry passengers, and noise. By the time he got home at night, he was drained. He had zero energy left. Marco wanted to improve his English because he wanted to work in the tourism industry, perhaps as a tour guide for VIP guests. He bought an expensive English course that required him to sit in front of a computer for 1 hour every evening. For the first 3 days, he did it. On the 4th day, he fell asleep at his desk. On the 5th day, he didn't even turn the computer on. He felt like a failure. He told his wife, "I am just too busy. I will learn English when I retire." The problem was not that Marco was lazy. The problem was his strategy. He was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. He was trying to find a solid block of study time that simply did not exist in his life. He needed a different approach. He needed to use what we call dead time. Dead time is the time in between your main activities. It is the time spent waiting in line, the time spent in traffic, the time spent washing dishes, or the time spent waiting for the kettle to boil. These are small pockets of 5 or 10 minutes that we usually waste looking at social media or worrying. Marco realized that while his hands were busy driving, his ears were free. So, Marco changed his plan. He stopped trying to study at night when his brain was tired. Instead, he turned his taxi into a classroom. When he was alone in the car between customers, he listened to English podcasts. He shadowed the speakers. When he was waiting for a customer at the airport, he used a flashcard app on his phone for just 5 minutes. He didn't aim for 1 hour. He aimed for 5 minutes, 10 times a day. This is called micro-learning. It is much easier to find 5 minutes than it is to find an hour. And something amazing happened. Marco found that he was actually studying more than before. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, added up to 90 minutes a day. And because he was doing it throughout the day, his brain was constantly engaged with English. He wasn't binge-eating English once a day. He was snacking on it all day long. Marco also used a technique called habit stacking. This is a very powerful psychological trick. It means you take a habit you already have and you attach a new habit to it. For example, Marco drank coffee every morning. That was an established habit. He decided, "I will not take my first sip of coffee until I have read 1 page of an English book." The coffee became the reward. The reading became the trigger. He also decided, "When I brush my teeth, I will listen to the news in English." Brushing teeth is automatic. Now, listening to English became automatic too. He didn't have to use willpower. Willpower is like a battery. It runs out. Habits are like gravity. They pull you automatically. By stacking English onto his daily life, Marco removed the need for willpower. 6 months later, Marco had a tourist in his taxi. The tourist was American and started asking questions about the city's history. In the past, Marco would have stayed silent or given short answers. But this time, his brain was warm because he had been listening to English all morning. He started explaining the history of the cathedral they were passing. He used the vocabulary he had learned in his dead time. The tourist was impressed and gave him a huge tip. More importantly, the tourist gave Marco his card and said, "If you ever want a job as a private driver for my company, call me." Marco realized that he didn't need more time. He just needed to use the time he had differently. So, look at your schedule. Be honest with yourself. How much time do you spend scrolling on your phone? How much time do you spend waiting for the bus? That is your English time. Do not wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment does not exist. Start where you are with what you have. Even if you only have 10 minutes a day, that is enough to keep the engine running. The only speed that is fatal is 0. As long as you are moving, you are winning. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the monster that lives in our heads: social anxiety. We have talked about consistency, but what happens when you actually have to open your mouth and speak to a human being? For many people, this is terrifying. It is the moment your mind goes blank. I want to introduce you to Hannah. Hannah was a university student who was very shy. She was an introvert. She preferred books to people. In her English writing class, she got perfect scores. Her essays were beautiful. But in speaking class, she sat in the back and prayed the teacher would not call her name. One day, the teacher announced a project. Everyone had to give a 2-minute speech about their hometown. Hannah felt sick. For 2 weeks, she couldn't sleep. She imagined standing in front of the class and forgetting everything. She imagined everyone laughing at her. This is called the spotlight effect. It is a psychological bias where we think everyone is paying close attention to us, judging our every move. We think there is a bright spotlight on us, but the truth is, most people are not thinking about you. They are thinking about themselves. They are worrying about their own speeches. They are checking their phones. They are wondering what is for lunch. Understanding the spotlight effect is liberating. It means you are free to make mistakes because, honestly, nobody cares as much as you think they do. Hannah tried to memorize her speech word for word. She wrote it down and recited it like a robot. My hometown is very beautiful. This is a common mistake. When you try to memorize a script perfectly, if you forget one word, the whole chain breaks. You panic. You get stuck. You cannot recover. The day of the speech came. Hannah walked to the front of the room. Her hands were shaking. She looked at the faces of her classmates. She started, "My hometown." And then her mind went white. Blank. Nothing. She stood there for 10 seconds of silence. It felt like 10 years. She ran out of the room crying. Hannah almost quit the course. But she had a wise mentor, an older student named Sarah. Sarah told Hannah, "You failed because you were trying to perform, not communicate. You were trying to be an actor. You are not an actor. You are a person sharing an idea." Sarah taught Hannah a new technique: bullet point visualization. Instead of writing a full script, write down 3 main keywords. For Hannah, the words were mountains, food, and festivals. Sarah told her, "Just look at the word mountains and tell us what you see in your head. Don't try to remember a specific sentence. Just describe the image." Hannah tried again a week later. She stood up. She was still nervous, but she held a card with just those 3 words. She looked at mountains. She visualized the mountain behind her house. She said, "My town has big mountains. They are green." It wasn't the complex sentence she had written before, but it was true, and it came out naturally. She looked at food. She smiled. She said, "We eat spicy noodles." She didn't worry about perfect grammar. She focused on the picture in her head. She finished the speech. The class clapped. She didn't die. In fact, she felt a rush of adrenaline. She realized that she could survive imperfection. This fear of going blank is actually a biological reaction. It is the fight-or-flight response. When you are stressed, your brain thinks a lion is attacking you. It sends all your blood to your muscles so you can run. It takes blood away from the part of your brain that handles language. That is why you can't speak. You are physically in survival mode. To fix this, you need to trick your body into calming down. You can do this with breathing. Before you speak, take a deep breath in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and breathe out for 4 seconds. This tells your brain, "We are safe. There is no lion." The blood returns to your brain, and your words come back. Another technique Hannah used is called the safety net phrases. These are phrases you memorize to use when you get stuck. Phrases like, "Let me think for a moment," or "How do I say this in English?" or "I lost my train of thought." If you have these phrases ready, you don't panic when you forget a word. You just use a safety phrase. It gives you time to breathe and recover. It makes you sound natural. Native speakers use these phrases all the time. We forget words, too. We say, that thing? It is not a sign of bad English. It is a sign of being human. Let's talk about the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. This is a concept developed by a psychologist named Carol Dweck. A fixed mindset says, "I am bad at English. I will always be bad. Mistakes mean I am stupid." A growth mindset says, "I am not good at English yet. Mistakes are how I learn. Every error is a step forward." Hannah had a fixed mindset. She thought her failure was permanent. Sarah helped her build a growth mindset. She taught Hannah to add the word "yet" to her sentences. "I don't understand this grammar, yet. I can't speak fluently, yet." This small word opens up the future. It changes a stop sign into a road sign. I want to encourage you to start a failure collection. This sounds crazy, right? But hear me out. Set a goal to make 10 mistakes a day. Go out and try to speak, specifically hoping to make a mistake. When you make a mistake, say to yourself, "Yes, that is one." When you aim to fail, you take away the fear. You flip the script. If you have a conversation and you make 0 mistakes, you played it too safe. You didn't learn anything new. But if you struggled, if you messed up a verb tense, if you used the wrong word, you stretched your boundaries. You grew. Be proud of your failures. They are your battle scars. They prove you are a warrior in the arena, not a spectator in the stands. Let's combine Marco's routine with Hannah's bravery. Imagine you are commuting to work. You are in your car or on the bus. This is your safe space. Nobody can hear you. I want you to practice the 2-minute speech. Pick a random topic. It could be why I like coffee or my opinion on traffic. Set a timer on your phone for 2 minutes. Start talking. Do not stop until the timer rings. If you run out of things to say, repeat yourself. Say, "I really, really, really like coffee." Just keep the flow going. This trains your brain to produce English under pressure, but in a safe environment. If you do this every day, when you actually have to speak to a person, It will feel much easier because you have already practiced the act of continuous speaking. Another powerful tool for the shy learner is text-to-speech and speech-to-text technology. Most phones have this now. Open a Notes app and press the microphone button. Try to dictate a message in English. See if the phone understands you. If the phone writes exactly what you said, your pronunciation is good. If it writes something completely different, you know you need to adjust your clarity. This provides instant feedback without the embarrassment of talking to a human. You can do this alone in your room. It is like a game. Try to get the phone to understand a complex sentence. It is free, it is private, and it is effective. We must also address the concept of comparison. In the age of social media, it is very easy to look at other learners and feel inadequate. You see a video of a girl who says she learned English in 3 months and now speaks like a native. You look at your own progress and feel depressed. You think, "What is wrong with me?" Listen to me closely. Social media is a highlight reel. You are seeing their best moments, edited and polished. You are not seeing their struggles, their hours of boredom, their mistakes. Comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel is unfair. Compare yourself only to who you were yesterday. If you know one more word today than you did yesterday, you are successful. That is the only metric that matters. Let's build a concrete plan for your speaking routine. We have the listening routine, passive listening, cartoons. Now for speaking. The shower monologue. Every morning, tell yourself what you are going to do that day. First, I will wash my hair. Then, I will make breakfast. The shadowing session. Spend 5 minutes mimicking a native speaker. Like me. The voice note. Send a voice message to a friend, or even to yourself, in English. It can be short. "Hey, just checking in. I am tired today." The safety net. Check. Practice your 3 safety phrases. Can you repeat that? "I need a moment." What does that mean? If you do these 4 things, you are speaking English every day. You are breaking the silence. The silence is the enemy. The more you break it, the weaker the fear becomes. It is like a muscle. The first time you go to the gym, everything hurts. After a month, you feel strong. Speaking is the same. I also want to mention the importance of physical posture. This sounds strange, but your body language affects your fluency. If you are hunched over, looking at the floor, your chest is compressed. You cannot breathe well. You feel small. Your voice will be weak. Before you speak English, I want you to stand up straight. Pull your shoulders back. Lift your chin. Smile. This power pose sends a signal to your brain that you are confident. It actually changes your hormones. It lowers your stress chemicals. Fake it until you make it. Stand like a confident English speaker, and you will start to feel like one. You are going to make it. And as we look toward the horizon, we need to talk about the future version of you. We are not going to talk about grammar tricks or vocabulary lists anymore. We are going to talk about the version of you that exists 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years from now. We are going to discuss how to turn this temporary burst of motivation into a permanent lifestyle change. Because that is the secret. English is not a subject you pass. It is a lifestyle you live. To help us understand this, I want to share one last story with you. It is the story of a woman named Elena. Elena was 65 years old. Most people told her it was too late to learn a language. They said, "Elena, your brain is not plastic anymore. You should just relax and watch TV. But Elena had a very strong reason to learn. Her son had moved to Australia many years ago and had married an Australian woman. They had two beautiful children, Elena's grandchildren, who only spoke English. Elena spoke to them on video calls, but she could only smile and wave. She couldn't tell them stories about her childhood. She couldn't give them advice. She felt like there was a glass wall between her heart and their hearts. She decided to break that wall. Elena didn't have a job to go to, but she had a garden. She loved her garden. She decided to make her garden her classroom. Every morning, while she watered her roses, she listened to English stories. She didn't use high-tech apps or expensive courses. She just used simple audiobooks. At first, she understood nothing. It was just noise. But she kept watering the roses, and she kept listening. She told herself, "As long as the flowers need water, I will listen to English." She linked her learning to nature. Seasons changed. Spring turned into summer. Summer turned into autumn. Elena didn't rush. She didn't stress about exams. She just let the language wash over her like the rain. 1 year later, her son came to visit with the grandchildren. The family was sitting around the dinner table. The children were talking excitedly about their school in Sydney. Suddenly, the youngest child, a boy named Leo, dropped his fork and started to cry because he couldn't cut his meat. Without thinking, Elena leaned over. She didn't use sign language. She didn't call her son to translate. She looked at Leo and said, softly but clearly, "Let me help you with that, my darling. Hold the knife like this." The table went silent. Her son looked at her with his mouth open. Leo stopped crying, looked at his grandmother, and smiled. "Thanks, Grandma," he said. That 2-second interaction was worth all the hours of listening. The glass wall was shattered. Elena proved that fluency isn't about being perfect. It is about connection. It is about love expressed through words. So, what is the lesson from Elena? The lesson is that you must stop looking at the finish line. There is no finish line. You will never wake up one day and say, "Okay, I have finished English. I know everything." Even I, as a native speaker, learn new words every day. I still make mistakes. The goal is not to finish. The goal is to improve. If you treat English like a race, you will get tired and quit. If you treat English like a garden, you will water it, nurture it, and watch it grow forever. You have to fall in love with the process, not the result. If you love the process of learning, the result will come automatically. I want to give you a tool to measure your progress when you feel like you are standing still. It is called the jar of marbles. I want you to get a clear glass jar and put it on your desk or your shelf. Every time you spend 15 minutes learning English, whether it is listening to a podcast, reading a page, or talking to yourself, I want you to put one marble, or a coin, or a button, into the jar. On the bad days, when you feel stupid and slow, look at the jar. See how full it is getting. That jar is physical proof of your effort. Your brain lies to you. Your brain tells you, you haven't done enough. The jar tells the truth. The jar says, look at all this work you have done. It is a visual reminder that every small action counts. Let's talk about the identity shift. This is the most powerful psychological change you can make. Right now, you probably tell yourself, I am a student learning English. I want you to change that sentence. I want you to start saying, I am an English speaker. It sounds like a small difference, but it is huge. A student studies for a test and then stops. A speaker uses the language to live. When you wake up, ask yourself, what would an English speaker do this morning? An English speaker might listen to the global news. An English speaker might write their shopping list in English. When you adopt the identity, the habits follow naturally. You are not trying to learn. You are just being who you are. Now, let's imagine the next 12 months of your life. Let's simulate the future. Month 1 to month 3. This is the hardest part. This is where you are building the routine. You are Lucas struggling with the coffee. You are Marco finding 5 minutes in the taxi. You will feel resistance. You will want to quit. But you won't. You will use the 2-minute rule. You will do just a little bit every day. Month 4 to month 6. You will hit the plateau. You will feel like Sophia at the party. You will understand some things, but not everything. This is where you introduce your hobbies. You start playing games like Daniel. You start baking like Isabella. You make it fun. You survive the dip. Month 7 to month 9. The magic starts to happen. You will have your first dream in English. This is a weird and wonderful experience. It means your subconscious mind is accepting the language. You will catch yourself thinking in English without translating. You will hear a song and understand the lyrics instantly. You will feel a surge of confidence. Month 10 to month 12. You are now a different person. You look back at the you from a year ago, and you smile. You realize that you can understand 80% or 90% of daily conversation. You are not perfect, but you are free. You can travel. You can work. You can connect. This future is real. It is waiting for you. But it only exists if you do not stop today. I also want to address the concept of maintenance. Once you reach a B1 or B2 level, you don't need to study as intensely. You just need to maintain. This is the good news. You don't have to do grammar drills forever. Once you are fluent enough to read books and watch movies, your study time just becomes entertainment time. You stop working on English and start living in English. The hard work is just for the rocket launch. Once you are in orbit, you just need to float. So, push hard now. The easier life is waiting for you on the other side of the mountain. Let's be honest about the cost of inaction. What happens if you close this video and never study again? Nothing. Nothing bad will happen immediately. No one will come to your house and arrest you. But a slow, quiet tragedy will happen. Your world will stay small. The opportunities that were coming for you will go to someone else. The friends you could have met will remain strangers. The books you could have read will remain closed. The version of you that speaks English will die. Regret is a heavy stone to carry. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Do not choose the tons. Choose the ounces. Choose the small, daily discipline. As we come to the end of this journey, I want to ask you for a specific commitment. I want you to make a contract with yourself. Not with me, but with yourself. I want you to take a piece of paper and write down, I promise to give myself the gift of English. I will not quit. Sign it. Put it on your wall. When you look at it, remember that you are doing this for you. You are doing it for your freedom, for your brain, for your future. You are investing in the only asset that no one can ever take away from you, your mind. We have covered so much ground. We talked about consistency and the story of the old man fixing the bike. listening, and the story of Sophia and the cartoons, hobbies, and the story of Daniel and the video games, routine, and the story of Marco and the taxi, courage, and the story of Hannah and the speech, and finally, legacy and the story of Elena and her grandson. These are not just stories, they are maps. They are showing you the way. You have the map now. You have the compass. You have the supplies. All you have to do is keep walking. I want to leave you with a final challenge. This is your call to action. If this script, if this journey, has meant something to you, I want you to prove it. I want you to engage with this content right now. First, I want you to subscribe to the channel English in Fluency. Why? Not for my vanity, but for your consistency. When you subscribe, you are telling the algorithm, I am a learner. You are inviting English into your daily feed. You are surrounding yourself with the right signals. Second, and this is very important, I want you to go to the comment section below. I want you to write one sentence. I want you to write, I am planting my garden. Or, if you prefer, write, I will not give up. By writing this down publicly, you are making a pledge. You are joining a community of thousands of others who are reading these comments. When you see someone else's comment, like it. Reply to them. Say, good luck. Build this community. We are stronger together. And finally, share this with one person. Just one. Maybe you have a friend who is struggling, a cousin who wants to learn, or a colleague who gave up. Send them this. Be the spark that starts their fire. When you teach, you learn. When you help others, you help yourself. Thank you. Thank you for lending me your ears and your time. Time is the most precious thing you have, and you chose to spend it here, improving yourself. That makes you special. That makes you a leader. The screen is about to go dark. The audio is about to stop. But your journey is just beginning. Do not let the silence return. Go listen to a song. Go read a page. Go talk to yourself in the mirror. Keep the momentum going. I am Alex. This is English in Fluency, and I believe in you. Now go out there and let your English grow.